So welcome everybody to today's talk. It's by Arpita Mitra, who is a postdoctoral fellow in ISR Bhopal, working with Navamita Banerjee, whom we all know. And she is also our alumnus from IIT Madras, which I just came to know. She did her MSc from IIT Madras. Okay, it's a doubly great pleasure then to have her here. So over to you, Arpita, for the talk.
I'd like to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity for presenting my work. So today I'll talk about soft theorems in the presence of small negative cosmological constant. So in recent years, the quantum soft theorems and their relations with asymptotic symmetries have been a very active subject of research, which was started by Strominger and his collaborators. So first I will briefly discuss about quantum soft theorems. So my talk will be based on these two recent work, the first one is done with Navamita Banerjee and Arindam Bhattacharjee, and most recent one is done with Navamita Banerjee and Karan Fernandez. So first, I will briefly discuss about that what is soft theorem. So soft theorems relate an scattering amplitude with soft photons or gravitons to amplitudes without any soft particle. So here I denote the scattering amplitude with the soft particle is m plus 1. Epsilon is the momentum of the epsilon is the polarization of the soft photon or graviton, and k is the momentum. And then this scattering amplitude can be factorized as soft factor into the scattering amplitude without any soft particle. This expansion is valid only when the photon or graviton energy is very small compared to the other finite energy particles momentum. These soft factors can be expanded in terms of frequency, and we can write it as a leading, subleading, and subsubleading. The soft factors are universal in flat spacetime up to leading order in frequency for photon and subleading order for graviton. So universal means that they are independent of specific details of the theories, provided they are invariant under gauge and general coordinate transformations, or under large gauge transformations for photon and under general coordinate transformations for graviton. Recently, a connection between asymptotic symmetry, soft theorems, and memory effect were discovered in flat spacetime for both the gravity and gauge theories. So soft theorems are usually written in the language of S matrix, which are infrared divergent in 4 dimensions. But since the S matrix is itself infrared divergent, so it is not clear how we can interpret a relation between where both sides are divergent. But in recent literature, it has been demonstrated that one can get the same universal contributions of the soft factors in 4D flat spacetime as well as from the radiation profile arising due to classical scattering processes in vanishing frequency limit. So what is this classical limit of soft theorem? So we can consider as a classical limit of soft theorem when the wavelength of soft particle are much larger than the impact parameter involved in the scattering, and the total radiated energy is less than the energy of the scatterer. And at this point, we can derive the universal contributions entirely from the low frequency limit of the classical radiative fields. But for non-asymptotically flat background, the usual asymmetric description is not available. Since the gauge invariants remain intact even for the asymptotically non-flat theories, we expect a version of soft theorems to be valid in this case as well. So our idea was to use classical radiation calculations to probe this above interrelation such that we can get an analog of soft factor for a non-asymptotically flat background. And we chose ADS spacetime, and we chose a small negative cosmological constant for our background. So now I will briefly discuss that what do I mean by classical soft theorem. So if we consider an explosion in space where a bound system at rest breaks apart into fragments emitting gravitational waves, then a detector placed far away detects the transverse faceless component of classical perturbation. Here G mu nu is the background metric, eta mu nu is the flat metric, and H mu nu is the perturbation. So the radiation depends only on the initial and final momenta and angular momenta of the objects being scattered, but not on the details of the scattering. Now we can take the Fourier transform of this radiative part of the metric field for large observer distance, and we can see that in 4 space-time dimensions, this radiative part of the metric field can be factorized following this equation. For epsilon ij is the polarization, hij tilde is the Fourier transform of the radiative part of the metric field. This e to the power I omega r is a phase, and SGR is the soft factor. So this factorization is possible in omega tending to 0 limit, that is a long wavelength limit. Classical soft photon theorem similarly can be written as that we can derive a radiative profile for the gauge field and then take the Fourier transformations and then contract it with the polarization tensor, polarization vector, and then taking the omega tending to 0 limit, we can show that this breakdown that is also factorizes in this manner. Now I
Can
have
you
already
comment, Arpita, with this? How does it differ in the quantum case? I mean, isn't this?
no in yeah in quantum case the soft factor is same.
Okay. So
Here the
instead it.
interpretation like how we are getting the soft factor from a classical radiative field, that is just that we are taking a long wavelength limit, and then that is only giving us the soft factor up to a phase.
So in a way, a quantum input is this polarization thing, epsilon ij, epsilon mu. That's sort of a quantum input in a way.
But here it is like this epsilon I and epsilon mu, the choice of this will depend on like on the gauge invariance, like to
Polarization, right? That's what you
yes,
said.
yes.
Yeah. So
So
that is sort of a more of this
yeah,
that
you
comes
can
from the helicity, which is more of a quantum notion, right? I mean, the spin is a quantum, the helicity is a quantum notion. So, okay, so I understand. So you're
yeah.
saying
So
that, but what you're saying is that but the field is basically classical,
field is
right?
classical, and this epsilon, these polarization tensors are chosen such that the gauge invariance is intact.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
So there is another interesting outcome of this classical analysis, that from the classical soft factor you can calculate the memory term. So I have already mentioned that the soft factor can be written in terms of leading and subleading factor, which like at the order of frequency. So here the leading order soft factor is 1 by omega order, and the subleading is ln omega inverse. I will later mention that why this ln omega inverse is coming. So it was shown in the paper by Sen and Ladha that this AI tilde GR is actually a memory term. That means it's a permanent displacement in the relative separation of a pair of test particle which serve as a GW detector. And as it is coming from the SGR 0, so it is connected to the Leetings of graviton theorem. And this BI tilde GR, which is coming with this ln omega inverse, that is a sort of a late time tail to the memory term.
Sorry, could you be a little bit just so Aij is permanent displacement. So I little bit lost here. So previously you were talking of the field, right? And now, I mean, I've seen this in the
Yes,
talk,
yes.
but just
Now it is like now I have the soft factor. So this soft factor I can break down in terms of in the terms of the order of the frequency. So I'm just saying the coefficient of the 1 by omega term is the memory term, and the coefficient to the ln omega inverse term in the soft factor, because the soft factor is come like this 1 by omega, and this which will be, I think later will be clear because later I'll show the expression. So then this
okay, thanks. But what is the definition of this SGR again? I lost because you showed an HIJ, but now the HIJ is replaced by this A tilde, so I just got lost in the definition.
yes, yes. So I have this equation. So epsilon ij hij tilde, and now if I take this factor on left hand side, I'll get SGR. Now I'll write SGR as in the order of frequency. Is it
Yeah,
clear?
yeah, but SGR is a scalar, so where this A comes about, and I'm just
Oh, okay, sorry.
so
This
so this is my confusion actually.
so Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is epsilon, this is contracted with epsilon ij.
Okay, so this also has some epsilon dependence, depending on what is.
Yeah.
So it's not that epsilon dependence is also inside this soft factor, and then the leading and the omega inverse term is related to this permanent displacement. I see.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So BIJDR is the latent tail to the memory term, and it is connected to the subleading soft graviton theorem. So this subleading soft factor arises due to the presence of long-range interaction force, which is present in four spacetime dimensions. And in Shane Shahu paper by Shane and Shahu and Sen and Ladha, this was mentioned that for a core collapse supernova explosion in our galaxy, the magnitude of these terms are near the edge of LIGO detection limits. Similarly, for the photon case also, we can write the soft factor in terms of frequency, and then we can identify this Aij EM with the electromagnetic memory effect and Bij tilde EM with the tail term to the late time electromagnetic waveform.
Shouldn't there be one index less here?
Yes, yes, sorry, extremely sorry. Yeah, there is a typo. Yeah. So now I'll talk about our work, that it is classical soft theorem for ADS. So antiphysics spacetime is a maximally symmetric Lorentzian manifold with negative constant curvature, and ADS-CFT correspondence conjecture demonstrate a remarkable equivalence between two seemingly unrelated theories. Physical observables in ADS spacetime are equivalent to observables of boundary conformal field theory, that is, it geometrizes quantities otherwise difficult to compute for strongly coupled field theories. So particle trajectories in ADS spacetime behave like particle in a box, and null rays get bounced back from time like boundary. And unlike asymptotically flat spacetime, a soft theorem or its analog is not presently known for quantum scattering processes on asymptotic ADS spacetime. So using the formulation of classical soft theorem, we can identify an analog of soft factors for classical scattering in ADS background. But the where we are at which boundary we are computing, that is little tricky. So that I will that will be clearer in later part of my talk. So this calculation could predict interesting holographic implications on the correlation functions of conformal field theories via the ADS-CFT correspondence. So our initial goal was that we will just take a space time with a small negative cosmological constant, and we'll see that how what is the profile from the classical scattering, and we will take a long wavelength limit. So for that reason, we consider a scattering of a probe particle of small mass m in the background geometry produced by a ADS Schwarzschild black hole of mass capital M, which is much larger than small m at large impact parameter, and we consider very small lambda, the cosmological constant. And
Sorry,
our
when you say it's small, what do you mean small with respect to what?
it's like it's lambda by so if lambda is proportional to 1 by L square, so we assume that R square by L square is much less than 1, where R is the observer distance.
Distance from where? Sorry, it is from
From
what,
the
whatever.
scattering center
Okay.
to the like the observer sitting at asymptotically, and the scattering is happening somewhere middle in the space time, and that distance is observer distance.
But the distance, I mean, this also I'm confused because what distance you're, because if you take any point from the boundary to any point in the bulk, that would be infinite distance. If proper length would diverge. So the observer
So
is not at the boundary; it's somewhere in the bulk. That's what you
yes,
mean.
yes. So our observer is not at the boundary of the global ADS, but it is actually bound. Like if we take a L tending to infinity limit for a ADS spacetime, we get a causal flat patch around center of ADS, and our observer is sitting around that around the null infinity of that patch.
But what is the motivation of doing this? I mean, I thought you just began with ADS CFT, but this looks like some
No,
kind of causal diamond inside ADS,
yes. So
right?
initially, our point, we was trying to do it for full ADS spacetime, but then we understood that full ADS spacetime taking the soft limit is trickier because their minimum frequency is of the order of 1 by the cosmological, like 1 by r, so 1 by, sorry, cosmological constant. So we can't take vanishing omega tending to, like we can't take omega tending to 0 limit. So we have to take some double scaling limit, that the flat, like the soft factor, you can talk about the soft factor when you are taking a double scaling limit in a ADS spacetime. That means that in omega tending to 0, but L is also tending to infinity. So L tending to infinity faster than omega tending to 0. And but we are keeping omega L fixed. So this
Yeah,
flat
thanks.
limit, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, maybe we're going to explain that, but my only point is the interpretation of this in terms of the CFT is a little bit obscure,
In
right?
terms of CFT, yes, in terms of CFT, it will be a little harder. Like our next project is, we are trying to do that using HKKL construction. We are just trying to uh, derive this leading order leading lambda corrections to the creation and annihilation operator of the null infinity of this flat patch, which I'm talking about, which is at around center of ADS.
Okay, thanks. Okay, maybe you should just simply go ahead. We can ask.
So till this point of time, just our goal was like we are just trying to calculate a classical scattering process in a background where the lambda is very small.
Yeah, I think Amita has a question, no?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. Yeah, actually, can you see again? What did you say about R over L?
Okay, yeah. So the thing is like that we have assumed that r square by L square, so lambda is equal to minus 3 by L square for a ADS, and we have assumed that r square by L square is much less than 1.
Where R is the location of the observer.
Yes.
So then it is really the flat space region that you are talking about.
Yes. It is just the null infinity of the flat. But our like that we later understood that we are, whatever we are calculating, it is just talking about the flat space patch, the null infinity of flat space patch, just 1 by L square corrections to those results.
So sort of it's like a Rindler kind of thing inside. You're talking about the Rindler patch around the black hole or something like that, I guess.
Black hole here is it's a point particle, so it is sitting like,
No,
if
I
you think
understand, but it is sort of analogous to the Rindler patch, right? This is which is flat here.
probably, yeah. Okay, should I proceed?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Can I ask one question, Arpita?
Yeah.
I think you already said this, but so you're saying if you were to normally consider the soft limit in ADS, the presence of the cosmological constant puts a natural infrared cutoff. So,
Yes.
so a soft limit doesn't make sense. It only makes sense
Yes.
if you put the infrared cutoff to 0.
Yes.
And you're doing that while keeping R over L fixed. Is
Yes.
that right?
Omega L fixed.
Or omega L fixed, and then you're
Yeah.
taking L to infinity.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So our analysis will provide a perturbative corrections, and the perturbation parameter, two perturbation parameter we are considering. One is black hole mass m, and one is the cosmological constant lambda. And then the gravitational action is given by the Einstein-Hilbert action, and the equation of motion for the metric tensor is the Einstein-Hilbert Einstein equation. So the solution of this equations for a static spherically symmetric spacetime with mass m and a negative cosmological constant is given by this equation, where the Laplace function is 1 minus 2gm by r minus lambda r square by 3. So throughout the paper, we will input lambda equal to 3 by minus 3 by L square, and we will take 1 by L square as our perturbation parameter. So we will use isotropic coordinate system in computing the perturbations. Since the metric in isotropic coordinates has its space-like slices conformal to the Euclidean one, the resulting radiative components of gravitational perturbations are also isotropic in all spatial directions. We truncate the metric components up to order 1 by L square during the derivation of isotropic coordinates, as we are interested in computation up to this order. So resulting metric describes spatial slices of ADS only up to 1 by L square order. So we are not talking about the full ADS space.
Okita, sorry to interrupt. So I just want one clarification, which you mentioned that you cannot take the omega goes to 0 limit in ADS.
Yeah.
I think that depends on what boundary conditions you use. If you allow some sort of a
Leaking.
fluctuating boundary metric, right? You allow the band not use a Dirichlet boundary condition, then I think this is not true. I guess you could take small omega limit also there. I think it depends on probably what precise boundary conditions you use. No?
Okay, I have to look into that. But as far as
So,
like we were looking into that, that we saw that the minimum frequency can be just proportional to 1 by ADS radius. So
But
yeah,
you are not global ADS, right? It is Poincaré ADS.
for our case,
Yes.
so we took a static metric. Like this is a global static metric. This is
Okay,
so
then I
did not
don't
consider
global.
Poincaré patch.
Yes. Well, okay. I see. Okay, okay. Siddharth has something to ask or
no,
comment.
I was just going to say that maybe even, I mean, even irrespective of the boundary conditions, isn't it true that just the presence of lambda means that you'd have a infrared cutoff, right, in
Yeah.
frequency space for your observer? So it naturally, at least, there is no soft limit in that sense, in the sense that
Yeah.
since there is a natural infrared cutoff, you can't really take the soft limit.
Yeah, I also thought that, but I did not know.
Yes, yes, probably.
So it would make sense only if you could somehow also take lambda to 0. And then and then I guess the claim is omega over lambda is a good thing to keep constant. That's
Yeah, because somehow there's a finite affine distance from any point in the in the bulk to the boundary, and that kind of this affine distance acts like a natural
yeah, exactly, yeah,
natural box scale or something like that. So I see.
right,
Okay.
right.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
So, the spatial coordinate r is related to the isotopic coordinate rho following this relation. And in isotopic coordinate, the background background metric can be written as d square equal to g00 dt square plus gij dxi dxj, where g00 takes this form, and we are keeping terms up to order phi, actually up to order of m, and up to order of 1 by L square. So we will denote the gravitational potential due to black hole as phi, and our assumption is that m by rho is much less than 1, and rho square by L square much like previously I was saying that r square by L square. So now that is isotropic. I have considered the isotropic r and isotropic spatial distance, so that is rho square by L square is much less than 1. So now we will linearly perturb the background spacetime by introducing a point particle of small mass m and stress with a stress tensor T mu nu p. Here the delta x corresponds to the covariant delta function. The covariant delta function normalizes following this equation. So this induces a perturbation of the metric, which is h mu nu. Under this perturbation, the variation of the equation of motion up to linear order in h mu will take this form, where the h bar is the trace reverse metric perturbation, and the delta T mu nu is the T mu nu p I just introduced. So for simplification to solve this, now our goal is to simplify this equation. So first we will introduce a gauge fixing condition, and then we will use this identity, and then we can do some more massaging, and we get this equation of motion. We can write the equation of motion in this manner. So here we have expressed the equation as the differential equation involving the flat spacetime D'Alembert operator and other additional terms involving linear in phi and rho square by L square and their derivatives. So we have kept these terms in this way because we will first solve for this part, and then we will treat this other part as a source. So
Sorry,
we
what
will
was pi? I was a little bit, it was faster. What is pi here?
I
Phi.
phi. Oh, sorry.
Phi.
Phi is gm by rho, just the black hole
Okay,
potential.
okay, I see. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's.
Sorry. So we are keeping
Sorry, Arpita, I missed the gauge condition. Can you
so gauge condition is just the
yeah.
modified de Donder gauge. Like for de Donder gauge, we take GAD alpha H alpha beta bar equal to 0. Here, as we have this black hole background, so we have to introduce, and the ADS thing, so we have to introduce two more. Sorry, I have again sorry, I have again a typo. This will be FB equal to. So the gauge condition is GAD alpha H alpha beta equal to F beta, and that is equal to -2 of this. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's good.
Sorry,
Thanks.
sorry, sorry.
Thanks.
Yeah. So our goal is like we want to solve this equation perturbatively in zeroth. So using the Green's function, first in zeroth order, we will use the Green's function corresponding to the flat spacetime D'Alembert operator, and then we will treat the other terms as the source term, and we will find eventually the solution up to order phi and order 1 by L square, plugging the zeroth order solution in the source terms. So to solve this equation, we have used Singe-Waldau formalism. So I will briefly discuss that what is this formalism. So in this formalism, one can express the solution for perturbation in terms of Singe-Wald function on curved spacetime. So Singe-Wald function is defined in this way, where x is the observer and x is the observer coordinate and z is the source coordinate, and they are joined by a unique geodesic xi alpha with affine parameter u, and u alpha is the tangent vector to this geodesic. In equivalently, it measures the half of the square of the measure of the geodesic distance between two spacetime points. So one can show, like in Singe have only shown that you can massage this relation and you can get an equivalent expression where omega is equal to minus half delta s whole square. And for a time like geodesic, this delta s we can write in this manner. So we will first proceed with a simpler case, namely the scalar box equation, and show how the solution can be written in terms of the Wald function. So this is the scalar box scalar wave equation. And here the delta is the covariant delta function is related to the flat spacetime delta function following this way. For flat spacetime, psi x can be written in terms of the Green's function, and Fs is the source strength. And as you already know that the flat space Green function has three possible solutions. One is the retarded one, another one is the advanced one, and the third one is sum over the retarded and advanced. One can easily rewrite this gxz, the sum over the advanced and retarded Green's function, in terms of this Singe-Wald function. However, this gx contains contributions for both the advanced and retarded one. So to maintain causality, we can show that this equation gets contribution only from the retarded Green's function if we consider the upper limit of integral at a finite value of s0. So for flat spacetime, the solution of psi x can be written in terms of the Singe-Wald function in this manner. We need to choose s0 such that z mu s0 lies outside the light cone centered at x way. In flat spacetime with general coordinates, we can take the following answers as a solution of the covariant wave equation. So we will just writing at the place of omega 0 as omega, which will be the covariant one. And using it as a trial solution of the covariant wave equation, one get the, like now if I put back this psi 0 in the scalar box equation on a curved background, we can get some extra, we will get some extra additional term. So that additional term is delta psi 0. So we have to use some double derivative of this Wald function and some properties of Wald function, and we get this extra thing. So for that reason, the total solution, the full solution of the scalar box equation will be psi 0 plus delta psi 0, where the psi 0 is this and delta psi 0 is follow this. And f comes from the second derivative of the Singe-Wald function. For our case, if we calculate the Singe-Wald function, we got this the expression of omega in this manner, and using the expression of psi 0, we can write the psi 0 use from the Singe-Wald function. And the correction term of the backscattering.
Sorry, just one question. The Green's function is like a delta function of your omega, right? That's what
Yes.
you said? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Sorry, my cursor is a problem.
Yeah, I think what you can do is simply use your up and down arrow to
Yeah,
scroll.
it was
Use
not
the
working
cursor.
till now. Now it started working. Yeah. Yes. So this, so the total solution of this curve space for the curve box equation, for the scalar box equation or curve space time will be psi 0 plus delta psi 0, where the delta psi 0 is is originated due to the backscattering. So for our case, first we calculate the omega, and then we calculate the psi 0, and also we write the delta psi 0. So for a scalar box equation, for our background, this psi 0 plus delta psi 0 will be the solution. But when we are considering the Hij bar equation, as it is a tensorial equation, it will have additional terms. So we have to consider those additional terms which are coming from the Riemann tensor and BC scalar. For that reason, we will treat the terms other than the box part as source terms. So these source terms are like one part of it is linear in phi and one part of it linear in 1 by L square. And then for that reason, we are finding a solution perturbatively valid up to first order in both M and 1 by L square. So
Sorry, it's a good question. So basically, both M and 1 over L square are the same order. The M and 1 over L are in the same order. They both are epsilon. Or, I mean, both are of comparable magnitudes, or?
yeah, it's comparable magnitude is like the thing is like M by R is much less than 1, and R square by L square is much less than 1.
And both
So
are okay, I understand, but both are of equal magnitude then. I mean, you mean that you're
it's sort
perturbing
of
in
like
both.
sort
Okay.
of like this M is much less than R, much less than 1 by much less than L.
So, but aren't they two different scales? Because I mean, they don't have
They
any
are
relation according
different
to it.
scale. Yeah, they are here. They are independent perturbation parameter. But if you want to
Right.
visualize it,
Okay,
they are two independent perturbation parameter.
right.
So to get the contribution from the source term, we have to compute the tail terms to the flat space Green's function due to the black hole potential and ADS potential. So how can we do that? We can take the scalar box equation and we can Fourier transform it, and then we can break it down. So here this psi tilde 1, that is actually psi 0 plus delta psi 0. So box tilde psi tilde will satisfy this right hand side right, it will satisfy the right hand side. So then from here we will get the delta psi 0, and the delta psi 0 have terms proportional to the phi and 1 by L square, and we will collect terms with same coefficient, and we will get these other two equations, and from those two equations such that they have to satisfy this equation, we can define the two tail terms to this flat space Green function. One is GM and another one is GL. So GM is due to the black hole mass, and GL is due to the ADS potential. So these expressions are little ugly. Yeah. So now if you remember the equation, so the zeroth order solution, we can write the Fourier transform. So we are now calculating everything in Fourier space. So the zeroth order solution of Eij tilde will be like this. Here, this is the flat space, the Fourier transform of flat space Green's function. And the now gauge fixing equation, the gauge fixed equation at zeroth order. So that means the gauge fixed equation was grad alpha H alpha beta equal to F beta. Now F beta will put 0, and grad alpha H alpha beta will also be del alpha, sorry, del alpha E alpha beta. So we can relate the spatial derivative of EKM with EK0, and the spatial derivative of EK0 with E00. So that will help us to rewrite the source term in terms of Eij. So in that way, we can get the full solution of Eij. So this part is the from the box part, the first part, and these are the source part. So this part is corresponding to the source term which are linear in phi, and this part is the corresponds to the source term which are linear in 1 by L square. Is this clear?
Yeah, okay. You can.
So this was this till this part we have just calculated the radiation profiles. Now you will consider that what is the soft expansion, like we will take the long wavelength limit of this radiation profile. So for us, I have already discussed that for asymptotic ADS spacetime, consideration of soft limit is tricky. There is no notion of null infinity in asymptotic ADS spacetime at the boundary, because photons bounce off and photon bounce off an infinite number of times on spatial infinity, which is time like hypersurface. So the frequency of graviton and photon can never strictly go to zero as there is a mass gap. So we will define a double scaling limit where omega tending to 0 and L is going to infinity, keeping omega L finite. So to do the soft expansion, we will follow the procedure which was mentioned in, which was first discussed in paper by Sen and Ladha. So there we assume the expression for asymptotic trajectory of the particle and its velocity, for the particle and its velocity. So for flat space time, this is just beta plus minus t plus c plus minus, and due to long range interaction, you get another extra term which is ln(t). And for our case, if we consider the Gauss law, we get a 1 by L square correction, but we will not use that 1 by L square correction of the trajectory because our radiation profile is already order of 1 by L square, and we are interested computing result up to this order. So if we consider the 1 by L square contribution in here, then those will result in 1 by L to the power 4 contribution, which we are not interested. So technically our trajectory, asymptotic trajectory, is also the flat space trajectory with this long range interaction contribution. So here we keep terms of the order 1 by t, and this ln mod t term arises due to the presence of long range interaction. So now we will rewrite the perturbations in terms of frequency, and this EIJ1, EIJ2, EIJ3 and EIJ4, they will be part of, they are originating due to the black hole mass M, and E5, E6, E7, they are coming due to the ADS radius. So in asymptotic limit, the observer distance simplifies, and the tail term to the Green's function also simplifies. So here they are simplifying in this way. After that, we will use this relation, and we will bypass the equation and we will bypass until we get the integral introduced by Sen and Ladha, which will help us to give the 1 by omega and ln omega inverse contribution from the radiation profile. Now we have to choose this polarization tensor. So the invariance of the soft factor under the transformation of
sorry, can I interrupt you 1 second?
Yeah.
Can you show the contributions which come just from the cosmology?
Yes, so thing is that from the cosmological constant from the cosmological Green's function corresponding to the cosmological constant, the GL, we get this term E5, E6, E7. Okay, like this part. Okay, but when we are doing the soft expansion, we see that this part gives us finite contribution. So we just get contribution from this first part.
I see. I see. So if naively, if I take the L going to infinity limit of this expression,
yeah,
then I guess like the I get like your first 3 lines, which is which is the flat space answer.
Yeah.
Right. But you're saying in this double soft limit that you have, you get some contribution from this term, from this next term also in the last 3 lines.
I'm saying that in double scaling limit, this last line is not contributing.
It's not contributing. So
it's
then you get only the flat space answer, right?
We get the flat space answer from this part, but here there also this thing contributes.
Oh, I see. Oh, sorry. Okay, so there is a contribution from there. Oh, I see. So naively, if I took the L going to infinity limit, these contributions wouldn't be there.
Yeah,
But you're saying in this double soft limit, these contributions are there,
these are
which are
there. Yeah,
coming
and
from the
the
denominator.
tail term to the Green's function, they are not contributing. They are giving finite contributions.
I see. I see. So you're pulling down powers of omega from this exponentially to the I omega t plus r, and
Yeah.
those are conspiring with these factors and come from the numerator. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
there are powers of omega by L that you get,
Yeah.
which if you
So this will
fixed
give
and
us something like 1 by omega cube
I
L
see. I see.
square,
I
and we
see.
are keeping omega L fixed. So omega square L square, we are making it as a finite contribute, like it is a small constant, and then it is 1 by omega order divergence we are getting.
I see. I see. Very good. Very good. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
So after doing this expansion, we have to just choose the polarization tensor such that it gives it remains invariant under this transformation. So we choose this kind of a polarization tensor where epsilon 0 nu equal to 0 and epsilon I equal, this is trace phi, and this ki epsilon ij equal to 0. And we saw that this result is already derived in Sen and Ladha paper, which is a flat space time result, and we got this contribution is here. So yeah, here you can say that this gamma is omega L. So this is omega square L square, and this is a 1 by omega inverse, and here ln omega inverse. So this is the leading soft factor, and this is the subleading soft factor. Unlike the flat space black hole background, where the tail term to the Green's function contributes to the subleading soft factor, here we are not getting that effect. So for flat space time, if after getting these expressions, rewrite in terms of momenta. If you assume the initial trajectory and final trajectory of the pore particle in this way, and you write the initial trajectory, final trajectory, and the momentum, and the also asymptotic angular momentum, you can write the soft factor in terms of which is the known version. So this is, you can write that expression in this way. So similarly, we also try to write we assume this parameterization, and we try to write our soft factors in terms of momentum variable, and we got this. So this is the flat part, and we are getting, this is extra ADS controller, like this is this is the look like flat part, and this is the extra ADS factor. Obviously there's 1 by L square, but so this is the result we computed.
So essentially, you're getting some kind of dressing to the
Yes, it looks like a dressing, and we are trying to flesh it out in a better way, that how we can do it. But yeah, so that is our next thing. Like, we are just trying to show that from conform, if I taking from a conformal word identity, if you are taking L tending to infinity limit, so already Hijano and other people have shown that they can get the this soft theorem as a word identity for asymptotically flat space-time, and we are just trying to show that whether we can interpret this equation as a dressing to those results.
Yeah, but can I ask something rather?
Yeah.
Rather, so I understand the way you are framing the problem, but suppose I do the following thing, like in the field theory, forget holography, I can think of something like a conformal collider experiment, right? With some TV news, like people like Maldason and other people have formulated. So that is a thing without gravity. And now I can ask for soft graviton emission from such a conformal collider experiment, right? And so that would correspond to something like this, that you are taking something all the way to the boundary. That I think would have some gap where you cannot take omega goes to 0 limit. But however, there is a Minkowski space in the boundary, right? And there you can have something that goes to the null infinity in the Minkowski space at the boundary, I think. But that will require you to like fiddle out with the boundary conditions.
Minkowski space is disconnected to the bulk, no?
Why? I mean, it's a boundary of the ATS. So, so there, if you allow gravitons to escape to the null infinity of that boundary of the Minkowski, So it is like saying that from the dual perspective, it's like allowing gravitons to be emitted from a conformal collider type experiment, which you can carry out in ADS, I guess. I mean, that is certainly possible. That is indeed like taking some correlation functions of the CFT operators and taking some limits of those, right? And then, yeah, I'm just saying that there should be ways to, I mean, in this specific way of doing things, maybe there is a way to even understand it as a water entity. But this would be different from what you're doing. It is probably the interpretation of that, of what you're doing is, for me, is a little bit unclear from the field theory point of view. So yeah, I just making this comment that I think there would be ways to probably understand something like a soft limit without taking a finite R like you are doing and taking the R goes all the way to infinity. I think. It just from the field theory perspective, there should be a way to do this, right? To add soft gravitons to a conformal collider experiment, right? Yeah, anyway, that was just a comment here.
I'll look into that. So in a similar manner, we can also calculate the classical soft photon factor. And here we will just consider a charge probe mass scattering on the ADS Dyson-Osborn background and do the same analysis. And we will find that we will first calculate the radiation profile A, and then we can find we can similarly do this, find the leading and subleading soft factor. And we can rewrite it in terms of momentum variables. And here also we get the same kind of a dressing factor. So now the physics, like if I want to physically motivate that what we are doing, so then this thing is like the flat limit of ADS, whatever this was considered, I think, in the paper of Fitzpatrick, Kaplan, Penedons, and many people who have considered this. And recently, this was considered a paper by Hijano, where he is showing that there is a section of global ADS cylinder, and there are Cauchy slices, this sigma plus minus and sigma minus prime, and they extend to this Minkowski the initial size and final slice. And specifying a state on this sigma plus minus prime specifies a state in the conformal field theory, in the boundary conformal field theory, in the Cauchy slice, where at this point. So they have used the fact that the S matrix elements in flat space can be obtained from large ADS radius limit of certain CFT correlators. They constructed CFT operators which create incoming and outgoing scattering states in flat space. And this is done by taking the flat limit of bulk operator reconstruction techniques. Using this method, they obtained explicit expressions for incoming and outgoing U1 gauge fields. And Weinberg's soft photon theorems then followed from word identities of conserved CFT currents. I think their motivation was like to construct or to get some aspects of flat space holography. So we want to show that our, like in follow-up work, we want to show that whatever soft factor we have gotten, this 1 by, so whether that can be treated as a the leading order correction to this result of Hijano. And in another recent work also by Compare, there they construct surface charge algebra of generic asymptotically locally ADS for space-time without matter. After specifying a boundary foliation and a boundary measure, they obtain an algebra which they denote as lambda BMS4 charge algebra. So to reproduce the BMS4 charge algebra from this lambda BMS4 charge algebra in flat limit, they require to add some corner terms in the action and they have to add terms to the symplectic structure also, which are defined from the boundary foliation and measure. So we expect that whatever soft factor we are getting, and if we can write it as if we interpret it as a word identity under a large gauge transformation, so that may correspond to the leading order corrections to this lambda BMS4 charge algebra also. So for that reason, we try to do a interpretation of 1 by L square correction to a large gauge word identity for soft photon case. So on asymptotically flat spacetime, it's already known that Weinberg's soft theorems for scattering amplitudes are known to be equivalent to word identities for large gauge transformations. These identities represent the soft charge conservation across null infinity. But for asymptotically flat spacetime, it is also known that the classical soft factor provide the same leading soft factor, quantum leading soft factor in the classical limit up to the usual gauge ambiguity. Hence, we can use the 1 by L square corrected soft factor to write an equivalent large gauge odd identity. So we try to do that and we receive a 1 by L square correction of the usual large gauge odd identity. We find that specific corrections of the soft photon mode and gauge parameter that provide a odd identity equivalent to the classical soft photon theorem up to 1 by L square correction. So here we will not talk about any subleading part, we will just talk about the leading part. So we recall that the soft photon theorem relates our scattering process with a soft photon insertion to the scattering without the soft photon by a soft factor. Assuming for simplicity that the insertion of the soft photon is only for the out state, the theorem provides this relation where A plus is the soft photon creation operator for the soft photon, S is the scattering matrix, S flat EM is the normal soft factor, and A plus is with positive helicity. It was shown by Hay, Prahar, Pralisov, and Stamminger in his other collaborators that this relation is also equivalent to the word identity, where this N plus is a soft photon mode, QK are the hard charges, epsilons are the polarization, and this epsilon are the gauge parameter. Are the gauge parameter. So this is known as the word identity of the large under the large gauge transformation. So we also did the similar thing. We just consider a 1 by L square correction to this thing. So this was the original flat space metric. The flat space.
Sorry, this QKZZ bar is simply. Could you explain the notation? Why
Yes,
this Z has a K index also?
Yes, so this GK, this is like the for the outgoing hard particles, and GZ bar is the for the soft photon.
No. Why one ZK has? Okay, because they could be different. Okay, I see. Okay, so this is the ingoing. This is Z of the angular.
Yes.
Okay, the celestial sphere of the
Celestial
ingoing,
sphere,
and this
yeah.
sphere of the ingoing K. And okay, now I understand. Thanks. Okay.
So now we are just modifying the results. We are demanding that now the soft theorem result will be in this way. So here we are assuming that this A plus will be the creation operator on the vacuum state for flat space, and this A plus tilde is the creation operator for the 1 by L square corrected vacuum. And we have this S flat EM, and also we have this 1 by L square correction to the soft factor. So we want to interpret this, we want to show that this is equivalent to a word identity. So we have demonstrated that it is equivalent to the 1 by L square corrected word identity on asymptotically flat space-time. So that is at the null infinity of that flat space-time patch around the center of the ADS. And we find this equivalent word identity. So we have to flesh out more, and we have to see that we have to properly analyze the symmetries here. But this is just one interpretation where you can see that the epsilon, the gauge parameter is also we have considered the 1 by L square correction to the gauge parameter, and this epsilon ADS we can write as a epsilon flat into a factor, and that factor is under symmetric under omega tending to Z, like this satisfies all the properties of celestial sphere.
Sorry,
And
this extra 1 over L square, how do you define? How do you find this as a correction? Could you explain that?
now we are just assuming that there will be 1 by L square correction to satisfy, like we have this corresponds to a 1 by L square correction, and we know that this SL0 EM has a 1 by L square correction.
No. My question is that this epsilon that you said that the gauge transformation, that is well known. What is this epsilon flat is well known.
Yes.
So how do you guess, how do you know this 1 over L square correction to epsilon?
We have back calculated. We wanted this, and to match it.
I see.
Yeah.
But such an interpretation should be. But such an interpretation can be shown in an elementary way, right? I thought so. Because if it is
Like from the like a formal derivation of the large gauge word identity in ADS spacetime, I think is complicated, because for our case, as we are taking this double scaling limit, so I don't know that whether there is a unique larger saddle point or corresponding to the low frequency result. So for that reason, we have do this back calculation kind of a thing. Like we have the right hand side, we already know the soft factor, we are rewriting the soft factor in the celestial sphere coordinate, and then we are trying to guess the how the gauge parameter and the soft photon mode are getting 1 by L square correction if we are trying to interpret as a word identity.
I see, but then probably you would like in the future to show that this interpretation is tenable by what you are trying to. This one over
Yes, we are trying to we are trying to show that this like this can, from a rigorous point of view, that way this is coming from the symmetry analysis.
Okay, thank you.
So here I will end. Yeah. So we found that this is the new soft 1 by L square corrected soft photon mode we are getting, and here we have seen that there is some mixture, because this N1 ADS, like we have to break down this NADS in two parts, where one is corresponds to the ADS, for the creation operator of the ADS space, but 1 by L, not ADS, like 1 by L square corrected vacuum, and the other part is the corresponds to the creation operator for the flat space.
So basically, the short summary of the talk is that you could, whatever you are getting can be understood as a dressing of the gauge transformations.
Yes, we want to show that, but we are trying to mathematically flesh it out.
I see. Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
and,
like in Strominger and other paper, they have shown soft factor is also sort of a dressing like this. So we are just like, if we can successfully do that, so then that it will be a correction, like the additional term to that dressing.
Yeah,
due to this.
but again, a very, very stupid question. What are the dimensions here? So I'm very, so 1 over L.
3+1.
No.
Oh,
1
sorry.
over L square.
Yeah.
So here it is what I'm just confused about.
So
I mean, what is the
this
dimensionless parameter of the expansion? That of epsilon. What is the? This is a very stupid question. So when you're writing this expansion, there should be a dimensionless parameter, right? And what is that?
So our case, omega L is dimensionless parameter, but here.
Yeah, here, because these are simply points at infinity in the celestial sphere.
So this epsilon ADS is like, technically this has to be dimensionless. So
yeah, I understand that, but there should be some systematic dimensionless parameter with which you can expand this, right?
Yeah, I understand. I.
So this is also confusing to me. Yeah. Okay. So would you like to wind up now, or it's?
So this is like so our main calculation was to calculate a classical scattering in an ADS space-time with presence of small cosmological constant, and then we did a double scaling limit, and we find the analog of a soft factor for both the graviton and photon case. And recently we have provided an interpretation of the 1 by L square corrections to the soft photon theorem in terms of corrections at the level of word identities associated with large gauge transformations, but it has to be more fleshed out.
Okay, thanks for the nice talk. And so, any question? Okay.
Sorry, I have one question about amplitude. So if is it the soft factor that you're getting, would you see them in ADS amplitudes if you were to take the soft limit of ADS amplitudes?
But the main point is
in the way
if
that
I am
you're
considering
taking
the total ADS space.
No, but in the way that you're doing it, I guess,
Yeah,
like in this
doing
soft double limit, would you see it in a soft double limit in the ADS amplitude?
we should, like after 1 by L square, we should. But,
Yeah, that okay. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the nice talk.
Okay, any further question? Okay, if not, thanks Arpita again.
Yeah, thank you.
So good luck for everything.
Yeah.
Getting out of the situation and yeah,
It's a very tough
yeah,
situation now.
yeah, understand. Okay, so it was good to see you
Yeah, I think
and
when
then
this thing will be over, like this mess, so
hmm.
I think I like to visit there. Like my friends also
Oh, of
joined
course, sure,
there
you
recently,
should be. You're
Shupanya.
welcome. Ah, okay, very good. You're
Yeah,
welcome. You're welcome to
yeah.
visit
Hope
us.
to
Yeah, sure,
visit there.
sure.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Okay, Arpita,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
Bye, and bye everybody else.
Yeah.
Thanks. See you.
See you.